So I just want to start off by saying the reasoning while we're all attending, looking at our screens this evening. So every year we send out a call for local artists who are interested in working with our children to create a classroom piece of art that has inspired our children some point in their year of learning. And typically, this is done through our city explorations. It's also done through visitors coming in the classroom, through field trips, through different outings that the children do. So this year it does look a little bit different because sometimes the uneventful happens. A couple years ago we had snow and that was uneventful. And so a lot of the art pieces were very inspired by snow. And so this year, of course, we have COVID-19, which has completely turned everyone's way of living and being a little upside down. So I'm very excited that we're still able to continue to work with our nonprofit organizations and continue to do this initiative and this project that we work through every year with just pre-K for SA. And with that, I'm going to let Dr. Beret say a few words and introduce herself.
Thank you, Joan. So I'm Sarah Bray. I'm the CEO of Pre-K for SA, and I'm really excited to be with you tonight, although I wish it were in person. But as Joan said, these are the times that we're living in, so I'm glad that we can at least do it virtually. And the upside to this is that we're going to be able to record it and share it with more artists who may not have been able to join us this evening. But the Gracias San Antonio is an initiative that grew out of the really brilliant work of the teachers at Pre-K for SA. So most people know that Pre-K for SA serves 2,000 four-year-olds each year, and we have amazing teachers who provide outstanding education. But one of the other things that our teachers do is create curricular innovations, ways that we can enhance early childhood education, not just in our Pre-K for SA education centers, but across San Antonio and really across the nation, because we share our ideas with anyone who's interested in trying to implement them. So the Civic Engagement initiative grew out of this idea that we wanted our young children to understand that they are citizens in the here and now. They are members of the community who can contribute right now. They don't have to wait to grow up to give back to their community who is investing so much in them. They can do that even at 4 years old. And it begins with an election. So when the national election is held in November, we hold an election at Pre-K, and the children and families vote among 3 nonprofits. So during the month of October, they learn about 3 great organizations in San Antonio who do so much, and then they go and they take their name cards, their voter registration, and they use an iPad and they vote. And this year, the children picked between Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is a great organization. I'm forgetting our second one, Joan. What was the other one? Obviously, Therapy Animals of San Antonio, and the third one was
Purple Up.
Purple Up, right. The military, Purple Up, right, is for military families. And the children, as almost always happens, anytime there's an organization that has anything to do with animals, that's the one that wins with young children. So Therapy Animals of San Antonio is our nonprofit for the year. And so the children and teachers will learn about the Therapy Animals for this year and what they do and the important work. And we will support them in different ways by perhaps doing some drives to help their work or volunteering. But the other thing that we do is Gracias San Antonio, where the children work with local artists to create beautiful art pieces, and then we put it into a real art auction. And fingers crossed, we may be able to have it in person this year. Last year we had to do it all online, but we'll see how things go in the spring. But the children's art gets put out in front of the public, and the children and the teachers get to talk about how they created their work that's inspired by their love of San Antonio. And then it all gets auctioned off and the money gets donated back to the nonprofit of the year. So this year it'll be Therapy Animals of San Antonio. And in this way, the children learn that they can do things right now that contribute to their community. So it's a really great way to get our young people started off understanding the importance of being part of the community and both benefiting from it and contributing. And of course, we could not make this happen without our teachers, who many of them who are on here, who themselves help with the art pieces, but also our local artists who bring the joy of art into the classroom. And it can be any kind of medium, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We want the children to understand that San Antonio is rich with artistic talent, and that the artists can help the children tap into their own artistic talent and create these beautiful pieces that can be then shared with our community. So I'm going to stop there because there's some great pieces that you'll want to see, much more than talking about me, but thank you so much. And if you know other local artists who might be interested in this, please encourage them to take part in this, because especially this year, because it's all virtual, you don't even have to go anywhere. You can do this you can do it in your pajamas from home. And so it's really a great opportunity to interact with the young people in our community and to help them learn about the love of art, as all of you know. So I'll stop there. Thanks, Joan, for letting me share about that.
You're welcome. Thank you. And so we're just going to go over a little bit of what Dr. Bray was talking about, a little more in depth of what does the program look like? What does this children, our citizens, look like throughout the school year? What are they doing? What do the art pieces look like? How do the local artists actually help and support and collaborate with the classrooms and the children? And so we'll go over it this evening. And we also have one of our local artists who has worked with one of our classrooms and also a couple of the teachers as well to speak on their experiences, because ultimately it's their story, and hearing how everything works together is a great way to be able to understand what this looks like. So as Dr. Bray was saying, this year we had 3 wonderful nonprofit organizations from San Antonio on our ballot, and we had Purple Up USA, Therapy Animals of San Antonio, and Big Brothers and Big Sisters of South Texas, which are all great nonprofit organizations that give back to the community. And of course, that the animals, our children have such a big heart for animals and completely love them. And we've had so many animals within our classrooms over the past 7 years too. Dogs, guinea pigs, rabbits, all kinds of animals. And boy, the empathy that develops in the children just by having the presence of an animal around does show so much. And as Sarah Morgan talks a little bit about therapy animals, you'll have a better understanding of why that develops so quickly and how it supports children in their need. So this year, yes, voting was as easy as 1, 2, 3. And for the first time, our children registered to vote, which was something new that we had just basically follow along with our national voting that we've done this year. It really encouraged parents to go out and vote as well. The children were so excited to have their voter registration cards. They were signing, they were showing off. There was so many pictures. So it was great to have the children really understand the importance of just knowing that their voice matters and how much at 4 years old they can make a change within a community. And so for them to be able to look at the ballot and choose and make a choice, and to even show off the stickers that say I voted, was great, because they went home. Even parents were voting using a QR code in the parking lots this year and received stickers saying I voted as well, because children inspired them, and our children were motivating parents like, don't forget to vote, don't forget to vote. And so we heard many of those stories as well. So it was a great day for voting. And this year we also did early voting. We kicked off early voting for the first time for the first couple of weeks before our election day, which was great because we were able to really get to our remote families at home too, to be able to take the time to vote as well. And of course, Therapy Animals of San Antonio were our great winners this year. And so congratulations to Therapy Animals of San Antonio. They were elected as our nonprofit organization, and we'll be collaborating with them throughout the year and supporting them in however they need. So we're very excited to have you aboard and to be working with you and connecting with you throughout this year. And so I just want to introduce Sarah Morgan, who's the CEO and also the founder of Therapy Animals of San Antonio. And she has put together a little presentation that she would like to share with everyone. So that way everyone is a little more aware of what does this organization do and how do they support and who do they support and what does it look like. Sarah, I'm going to go ahead and click your presentation, and you do have rights to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Let me get it started here for
There we
you.
go. Yeah, first of all, I am actually the fundraising chair and the chair in social media. So that's basically what I do. And Gerald is the president, and he is actually on the Zoom with us. And he'll talk a little bit about therapy animals once we get done with the presentation, if that's okay. So we're going to start out with Therapy Animals of San Antonio. Our slogan is bringing people and animals together for healing. Go to the next slide. So basically, are you showing this present? Are you showing the presentation? Joan,
Yes.
are you showing it on the screen?
Yes.
I don't see it.
You don't see it?
No.
Switch over to your other screen.
Okay.
Oh, I just lost it now.
It's okay. Do you see anything now?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Okay.
let me back up.
Back up. Okay.
There we go.
So basically, our slogan is bringing people and animals together for healing. That's what we try to do each and every day. So you're going to ask the question, what is a therapy animal? You see animals, so it's not a service dog. A service dog is basically an animal that's trained to do or perform tasks for people with disabilities. This dog is not a pet, and it's basically working with a handler to deal with a disability like blindness or something of that nature. So a lot of times when you see the vest and you see a service animal, that's an animal that you would not want to pet or interact with. You'd want to ignore it. So the next one is, you can click over. So therapy animals are not working dogs. So you ask yourself, what is a working dog? Well, a working dog, some examples of working dogs are military dogs, police dogs. They're basically trained to perform specific tasks, such as drug detection, bomb detection. There's also some dogs now that they're saying are learning to detect COVID, which is really cool. Again, they are not considered pets. So a therapy animal is actually a family pet. And this picture here is of Gerald's dog, Bonnie. These animals have been trained to provide comfort and affection to others. So sometimes people ask, do we get paid to visit facilities, or do these facilities make a donation to therapy animals? The answer is no. We're a 100% volunteer organization. So where do we work? What do we do? Here's examples of a few facilities within San Antonio that we visit. So we visit hospital and retirement homes, and yes, we have a cat too. We visit the schools with story tales and other programs. We visit the juvenile detention centers. The Crier Center, for example, is one of our big centers. We have several teams that visited the Children's Bereavement Center. My dog Hazel is one of those. And there's a picture of Hazel. We also visit the Ronald McDonald House. And these are just a few of our many facilities that we visit. We also do community events and presentations. So people ask, can you pet a therapy animal? Yes, of course. That's what we want you to do. We want you to love on them and squeeze them and cry with them or laugh with them or whatever you want to do, whatever's going to make you feel good. So there's ways that therapy animals can also help with physical therapy. Those ways can be helping them balance, helping them with speech, to talk to them, give commands, coordination, to like buckle the dog's collar, to brush them with a brush, and then strength and endurance. If they can actually hold the dog up or do knee lifts or something with the dog in their lap. So you don't really think of these things when you think of being a therapy dog. So we'd love for you guys to follow our story on social media. We're Therapy Animals SA. And let me see. This is my therapy dog. This is Happy Hazel. And she's a French Bulldog. And she's been a therapy animal for a little over 2 years. She's 3 years old. So this is Hazel. And her Facebook is Happy Hazel. So you can follow our therapy visits, and we want you to follow us on Facebook. And we want to thank you all so much for giving us this amazing opportunity. We look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Hopefully the auction's going to be live, and we can bring some of the animals to the auction and let people get a feel for these animals and what great things they do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah, so much for your presentation, and Hazel for joining as well.
Happy Hazel. Gerald,
Well, congratulations.
did you want to say a few words? We want to see if Gerald wants to say something.
Yes, definitely.
Let me see. Well, I don't hear him, so. Oh, he's muted. Can you unmute Gerald, please?
Yes.
There you go. No? See if we can get him unmuted. You there, Gerald?
Unmute. Do you hear me?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay. This area where I am is in is having an internet outage right now, so I'm on the cell phone and cellular. So who knows? We'll hope it holds up. But again, my name is Gerald Levinsky, and I'm the president of Therapy Animals of San Antonio. And you'll notice that I call our organization by the acronym interchangeably. It's TASA. That happens real often. It was a pleasant surprise to learn that we were a finalist and winner of Pre-K 4A's contest. And TASA's main event is the Fiesta Pooch Parade, where we raise most of our funds. And this event generates the huge majority of our funds. And as you know, it was canceled last year and maybe will in 2021. It's being debated. So we could miss the Pooch Parade in 2 years, and that makes us extra special. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about TASA. It's been around since 1998, and we're a 501c3, which means it's a charitable organization. And we're also honored to be a Gold Star member. And that designation is given for transparency, excellent management, and financials. As Sarah said, all of our members, there's about 153 of them. They're all volunteers, no paid employees. And our whole mission, which he also mentioned, is bringing people and animals together for healing. We have approximately 85 animals. They're mostly dogs, a few cats, and even a rabbit. We visit Bexar County and the 10 surrounding counties and we visit people at hospitals, senior living facilities, hospices, schools, and libraries. And that list is by means not inclusive, as we have over 150 locations that we visit. And those that you're familiar with, and Sarah named some of these, are the Methodist Hospital, University Hospital System, Children's Hospital of San Antonio, Choir Juvenile Detention Center, Children's Bereavement Center, in San Antonio's 3 McDonald's houses. And our new endeavor is what we call the care team. And this group consists of some of our best and completely dependable dogs and specially trained human handlers. And they visit after man-made disasters, national disaster impacted, with 3 or 4 of local school systems to serve their staff and students after they've had unfortunate deaths. We suspended most of our visitation because of COVID, and we look forward to hopefully being able to return to visiting soon, because it's very rewarding for our human handlers, and for that matter, the animals, to visit those in need. My dog went through depression. It was unbelievable. And again, thank you so much for your support of Therapy Animals of San Antonio. We really appreciate it, and you're a big, big help.
It's such an honor. Thank you all so much.
We're very excited to work with you this year. And so I think that for you to be able to see this whole process, even with Gracias and our Children Are Citizens project and all the art, as you were sharing with me before, Sarah, how you love art. So I think that this is going to be a great full circle for you to be able to see what this can bring to your organization. So we thank you guys for participating and for being here and for speaking on behalf of your organization. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For having us, yes.
I'm going to move on. So over the past 7 years, here's a list of all the nonprofit organizations here in San Antonio that we have supported. And you can see that we have supported so many just great organizations throughout our community, and now this year adding the Therapy Animals of San Antonio. So we're very grateful, and it's going to be wonderful working with you.
Can't wait.
So each year our children participate in civic engagement, which inspires our children in a lot of their artwork. And so every year we go on city explorations throughout the year, visiting community parks, going on different outings, visiting the missions, going to the Riverwalk, just learning about what San Antonio has to offer and learning through these opportunities, because children are not only learning about their surroundings and what San Antonio has to offer physically, but they're learning about cultures and customs and the different languages, which makes San Antonio so unique in itself. So just to be a part of everything that they're learning, they're able to take in everything and be able to understand it in a way only a 4- and 5-year-old does. And as they understand what's happening, they create these art pieces that just have influenced them through all of their city in the civic engagement piece. And not only does it look like exploring and learning outside, but also in the classroom. So this was not last year, but this was a couple years ago when we actually had the Fiesta Court come to one of the centers and actually be able to go into a classroom. And so we had the Fiesta Queen visit a classroom, and the children were just so inspired just by the crowns and the jewels that their art piece, if you can see on the screen, which was called a crowndelier, which hung from the ceiling, which was a beautiful art piece that had actual little working lights on the inside. So inspiration from the civic engagement piece of learning about the community inside and outside inspires the children. But not only that, is that the way that they interpret what they're learning into their art. is amazing. So you'll see all different types of art as it goes on display in the spring. So to break down, what does that really look like for the children? So these pictures here is a little bit about the process. And the process is the most important part because it does take time. And this is where our local artist comes in and teams up with the classroom teacher and for the children. So this piece right here, these pictures were inspired by an annual event in San Antonio called Chalk It Up. And so the children attended Chalk It Up, and they got to use all kinds of chalk, and they used streets and sidewalks all over to create pieces and to explore the chalk itself. And so one of the pictures on the bottom, you see that they're rubbing the chalk, and they're actually transforming the chalk into a powder. And from that powder, they were using the different colors to inspire themselves to create little individual pieces of art that created one huge, unique, incredible, dazzling piece of artwork. And so these are the pieces that the children are making, and a lot of times they're three-dimensional, they're on canvas, they're just amazing pieces of art, and they're very unique to every classroom. So I'll go a little bit into the role of the artist this year, which is going to look a little bit different. I know we have some returning artists, which I'm very excited to have them return. And we also have some artists who are very curious about what is this going to look like and what does it mean for me as far as commitment. So we're asking over the 6 weeks that you do make a time commitment to working with the teachers and the children. And it's going to look a little different this year because you will not be participating inside the classroom, but via virtual. So the teacher will set up a Zoom link to share, and you'll be able to log on once a week with the teacher and meet with the children and listen to their ideas and to show the different mediums and techniques and to model the language and to be able to teach the children really a little bit more in depth about art. And it's great to be able to have our local artists be able to pair up and just to work with our children. And this year, like I said, is going to be so different because it will be virtual. So I think that it's going to be an amazing experience, a very different and unique experience that the children will be able to really take and see in a different way how to do the art, how to create art, and what does it mean to put my ideas into an art piece. And so during this time, I have one of our teachers, Patricia Reck from the South, who would like to share her experience. She's gone through working with an artist, but also working through the Civic Engagement and talking a little bit about her art pieces as well. Ms. Reck?
Hi, good evening to everyone. I've been with Pre-K for SA. This is my 7th year. Currently, I'm at the South Education Center and previously at the East. And as far as my experiences working with artists, one important impact that they do have on the children is that the children are exposed to artists as a member of a community, that they might have a job as an artist in a community, and it's an atypical community job that, you know, children are aware of community jobs such as police officers at the school. But in my one experience where I had a professional artist, and it's not always a professional who actually earns a living doing it, but she came and showed her portfolio, and the kids got to see, you know, all the different art pieces that she created. And that art, also the exciting thing about working with an artist is that artist brings those skills, artistic skills, that they can share with the children, techniques. One time our children studied trees and nature, and so the visiting artist came up with a landscape that included trees, and it was done with acrylics, and she really taught the children techniques with the brush and how to use that technique to create the landscape. So that was exciting for them. I know that our children are put in a classroom and they're learning to problem solve socially with each other. And it's not, they're learning their own creativity and artistic skills. And we nurture that and we encourage it. But once we get involved in this Gracias San Antonio art project, they see that they can come together as a group and create something. And I always say teamwork to make the dream work. And so we're always talking about that, but it's really exciting for them once they see it all come together, because it does take time. But they see the fruition of a piece of creativity that is valued not only in their classroom and their school, but they get to see it out in the community, especially when the kickoff for the art auction is through the Gracias San Antonio art show. And that's really exciting, because then they get to go and see all this art, and that art is valued in the community. As far as the voting impact, this year, my kids were very excited to vote. And when they heard the results, I had one little girl say, I picked that one, like she knew. And when I sent a picture of her voting to her mother via Remind, the mom knew. She said, oh, I knew she was going to pick that. So it does create, a connection back to the family, which I think is important as a community, the school and the connection to the community and to the home. I think that's the extent of my experience. Did I cover it, Joan?
You did great. Thank you. And I think that just you sharing the little girl who was so excited to hear the organization that she voted for won, it just in that moment that, it did make a difference. My vote did matter. And I think that is just a moment that, that we were able to give to our children, and for them to understand it and to have that feeling at such a young age it's powerful. It's impactful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
So here is another art piece, and I'm really excited that we have one of our local artists. We have Miss Ayers, and we also have one of our teachers, Miss Martin, who teamed up together as a team to create this inspiring art piece. And I'm going to let them be able to kind of tell their story of how they were able to collaborate, and what does it look like as an artist, and what does it look like from a teacher's perspective, working together and to actually take the vision of the children and to put it together. Miss Martin and Miss Ayers, are you on?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes,
Hi.
I'm here too.
Hi.
Hi, Miss
So
Ayers.
glad
How
that
are
you
you? Yes, my name is Turquoise Martin. I'm a third-year teacher at Pre-K for SA East Center.
And my name's Lindsay Ayers. I actually had twins attending Pre-K for SA the year that I did this piece, and that's how I heard about it. I had been a stay-at-home mom for like 6 years before that, took a break from art and wanted to get involved in it again. And so I asked if I could do this, and it was a really great experience. Now I'm doing portrait commissions and working on some children's books, and I also work in a elementary school library as an assistant, and I'm kind of like the artist on campus there, and I'm just doing art all day and sharing that with the kids, and it's really awesome. So you can go.
Ayers and I, once we were introduced to each other, we started collaborating mostly just through email and text. And after I kind of told her about, you know, our city explorations and some of the things that we were thinking about. She just gave us some suggestions on some materials and like what to go out and get, and different ideas on how we could.
Yeah, I remember you were very inspired by your trip to the Chalk It Up San Antonio, you know, the chalk art, and you wanted to try different ways of using chalk, and so we discussed like the best kinds of chalk to get and like different ways we could use it, and the, you know, what kind of boards would be good, and then I spent a lot of time just researching what Chalk It Up looked like. I looked at pictures online, and I saw pictures that they shared and asked them about it, and just did some research. And that's kind of the way I work. I like to just gather information and inspiration and chew on it for a minute until I just get an idea of what we want to do. And so we had talked about doing a sort of a landscape because they had traveled all over downtown and stuff, and so I started looking at the different buildings and remembering my trips with my own kids all over the place in San Antonio. And I just was looking at maps, and I loved the shape of the main road system in San Antonio. I just loved how it looked like a spider web, and I thought, you know, the kids are going to like that too. And then it kind of just led to, well, what if we made a map of San Antonio in like a playground setting, and the little kids of the class could represent the areas of San Antonio. So you might see a kid playing with like an airplane or something that represented the airport, or, you know, just stuff like that. And then we made the board look like a chalkboard. So I used special paint for that, so it would, they could draw on it with chalk. And we explored different papers with the kids. Like all of this started out where we were just exploring the tools with the kids, and just letting them try different strokes with the chalk and different paper textures, and
Also,
talking
to
about.
go along with that, Miss Ayers, we invited Miss Ayers because, like the other teacher mentioned, she had a portfolio to share. So she came during large group because that worked best for us. And she brought her stuff, she set it around the carpet, and it was one of our most engaging large groups. The students all listened to her. They were asking her questions about her kids and the different things that she was showing us and making their own connections. And then with that, we also, because we did Chalk It Up, we also did things like on our second city exploration, we provided chalk. We provided chalk throughout our small groups and large groups and outdoor time. And then after she came and just kind of showed everybody the materials and stuff like that, the kids really had a connection with her every time she came, and they knew what was going on. So I think the large time for us was the best part, for them to meet her and just see all her other artwork and realize that it wasn't just, you know, one type of art. She had a lot of things going on. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I really loved that.
Large group and then work time. She came through work time. We only did large group once, and then every time after that, she came with different materials. Like she said, she let them explore during work time. They would go sit with her on her own. And I think one of the students made the connection with the maps and started bringing up the zoo and a little different parts around the city that she had been to. So that was also one of the ideas.
And then I was able to I had a bunch of maps that I'd collected on various trips around the city and brochures of the location. So I was able to leave them with the class, and they were able to explore all the maps and how they looked and all that. And so that was kind of a fun little tie-in. And, you know, like kids at this age, they're just, it's their own little world. So they're exploring their own little world. And this makes like the whole of San Antonio kind of more personal to them, I think. And so you'll see the border around the picture is their individual pieces that were inspired by their field trip. So a lot of them were from the zoo, and I don't remember some of the other ones, but yeah. And we did the small groups while they did their artwork, and they just sat with me and just talked about what they were drawing, and that was awesome. I loved it. So some of it is pretty abstract looking, and you might not know what it is, but you just say, just tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about your piece. And they'll talk you through it. And then it's like, oh, wow, that's pretty amazing. And it's just so much fun to just hear what comes out of their little imaginative brains. And sometimes they might say stuff that is kind of weird, but just roll with it. And yeah, you can just ask them questions while they're working, like what would happen if you tried this, or ooh, I wonder, like if you tried to like blend the colors this way, or like what else can you do, or demonstrating for them is pretty great. Let's see. I know we're all like all over the place with our talking points.
That's okay. One thing, Miss Ayers, if I could say that I do appreciate is that looking at this Chalk With Us art piece and really seeing how the children in the picture represent the different places in San Antonio, and how it's really a roadmap to everywhere that they were questioning or wondering about. Like the little boy, like you were saying, with the airplane represents the airport. And so like all the little places in San Antonio. But going into that, it's the story behind all the art pieces that make each art piece incredible. And without knowing the story behind some of the art pieces, we really don't capture that whole inspiration. And so you being able to share just that piece is like an understanding of, I'm starting to see it, and now you're really looking at all the little kids and wondering what they're doing and where is that in San Antonio. And so it's really neat to be able to hear the story behind. And with that being said, thank you, Turquoise, and also thank you, Lindsay, for sharing this evening. As we put these art pieces together and as they go on display, we also put a booklet together with all the art pieces, showcasing all of the great art that the children do, which is a lot. It's over 100 pieces of art that we put together each year that go on for auction. But also it tells a little bit about the story of where did this art piece come from and the inspiration, and also acknowledges the local artists that participate and also the teachers of the classroom. So it's a really great book to be able to capture just what all the art pieces look like during the year. So thank you both for being able to speak on your experiences. It's very meaningful.
Thank you.
And so going into the Gracias part, which is the exhibit and the art, here are some pictures of what art has looked like throughout our years. So you'll see there's very varied different pieces of art, three-dimensional, there's canvases, there's hanging pieces, there's large pieces, there's long pieces, but every art piece tells a story, and that's the most important piece, is that it tells a story and it represents the children. So you'll see the bowl of fruit and the inspiration, the mirrors, you'll see pictures of families, you'll see things that children are really interested in, the use of metal, the use of different mediums that children will never have experienced if this initiative wasn't put together just for them to be able to explore techniques and different types of medium and collaborating with local artists around the city. And with that, I'm going to leave this piece to Dr. Beret.
So each year we honor the artist and the teacher who have the highest selling piece in the auction, and we never know which one it's going to be, but often it's one that I'm bidding on because I love the art, and I tend to want to keep bidding. It's kind of a fun little game we get into, who's going to end up with the art piece. This is one that I didn't end up with this one. It's a beautiful one, but this is our highest bid art piece from last year's auction, and it was made by we actually had a teacher and assistant teacher who were the art inspirations, the artists for this piece, and it was by Sandra Acuna and Juanita Diaz, and they're both on the call, and we have a plaque for them. that will give, again, we'd normally be presenting you with the plaque, but since we're not together, we will get that. This piece sold for $405 last year. So congratulations to being our highest bid. And I don't know if either Sandra or Juanita, you want to say anything about your work. It's obviously beautiful, about family, and the children are featured here. But would you like to say anything about your piece?
Yes, it's really neat seeing it again. I actually have it, but seeing it just reminds me of the group of children that I had, how significant it is, because that's the year that COVID happened. But it was a collaboration between the children and ourselves for sure, because our kids we collected a lot of photos. We would ask parents to bring in pictures of them and things that they like to do at home. And we had this photo album, and till we were together, they loved going to that in the book area. They loved sharing photos of themselves. Well, one of our city explorations was at the Tea Gardens and the Brackenridge Park. And we took pictures of the families that were all there. And there were these huge trees that they just got excited about. They were putting their arms around, seeing how many children it would take to get around the trees. And so, of course, once we developed the pictures, we brought them in and made another book. And they started making comments on how the trees were big, and then they were counting how many people there were in different families. And it just kind of inspired that was what was going to become. We never know. I worked with an artist once. When I first started 3 years ago and I heard about this, it was like a stressor, like, what? I have to do what? But now it's always exciting because it's just something that evolves, and it's so neat to see the children get excited about it. They get an understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we also had a plaque hanging in our room that had this saying about, no matter which, we're different, but our roots remain as one. So it kind of all came together without us really having a plan. So that's how we came to creating the families into a tree based on our saying. So we asked all families to bring in pictures. They brought them in, we started placing them, they painted the background, and we just did decoupage. We kept it very simple, but they all had their hands in it. We asked, what do you think we need to make the tree? And, does it need to be big or little? And we started putting out pictures, and it just kind of came to be. And like I said, at the beginning, we weren't really quite sure. But at the end, I fell in love with it. I started bidding on it myself. For one, I included my family, and I had a loss that year. My dad passed away, so I wanted this. I'm like, I want this because Dad's in it. But then found out that a parent was bidding on it, and she was willing to go high. So I'm like, okay, I'm out. And there was a bidding war, and now I know who was the bidding war was with, Dr. Beret. And she was determined. She was determined to get it. And at the end of the day, she gifted it to us. And what I thought was beautiful, the reason she was determined to have it, because it represented family. And for her, she said she grew up poor and in the system, and now she was a military. She was a military family that was in our family at her school. And she said she had the ability to give back, and that's what she wanted to do. So now having it is such a representation of the diversity that we have. My intent was to hang it in the classroom, but I've been remote since, so it's actually hanging in my workspace. I have it. So it's a nice reminder of what we get to do. This plaque is beautiful. I don't feel that we really deserve this, because I don't know, I feel like I might offer it to the mom that purchased it, because she did a really nice thing. And it's just a beautiful reminder of what we get to do for all of our families and the different families that we are able to reach and work with.
Wow, thank you. That's a beautiful story. I appreciate you, and I love the piece, obviously. But I'm happy I didn't end up with it, because it's right where it belongs. So, but love that you all thought about creating this and working with your families and your children to create it. So thank you for that. It's a really beautiful piece. So glad that it's in a great place. And with that, we want to thank all of you for joining us this evening and for thinking about being part of our Gracias San Antonio program. We hope that you will spread the word and invite other folks who are interested in art to engage with our young children, because not only do you get to do art, you get to meet the most amazing young people. I always say that if you're having a bad day, you need to come to one of our classrooms, because when you see the 4-year-olds and how bright and beautiful they are, it just makes you realize the world is going to be okay. And so this is a way that you can come into the classrooms this year and work with the children virtually, and then help them to create something beautiful for our world. So you can sign up there's a form that if you are interested in being an artist, we'll provide all the materials for you. You just work with the teacher. You can contact Hilda, who is our organizer for this event. She kind of manages everything on it, but all of us are happy to help you if you have more questions about it. So let Joan end it, but thank you again for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Burry, and congratulations to the family tree art piece. It's an amazing story to be able to hear the background of the piece and how every art piece is just so meaningful. And so I'm very excited. So congratulations. And again, please, this is our call for inviting all local artists to come in. And even if artists are not local right now, and we've worked with some local artists who have moved who would still like to participate, and since we're virtual, they still have the opportunity to still do a second year or a third year with us, which is great and amazing too. So the possibilities are there. So we just want to thank everyone for joining this evening, and if you know an artist or someone who's showing any interest, please just share the information. Again, thank you guys. Thank you everybody. Congratulations to Therapy Animals of San Antonio, and congratulations to Ms. Diaz and Ms. Acuna. Congratulations on your art piece.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening.